first thing I want to do when I'm creating my still life is decide how I want to arrange all the items. So here's Arnold the artist, very important object. Clearly he's the biggest object. So I'm going to want him in the background. Okay, so I'm going to actually have Arnold, since he won't really sit up on his own, I'm going to have Arnold kind of laying down there. But I want to get his paintbrush in. There we go. Arnold's kind of resting with his paintbrush. That's fun. Miles from Tomorrowland is going to sit right next to Arnold's face. I could decide if I want him standing. Actually, that's a little easier. And my little flower is going to go right here. So the key is size, biggest in the back, smallest in the front, overlap. They need to be close together. And placement. Where are they in relation to each other? When I'm ready to start drawing, the first thing I'm going to do, as always, is write my name in the bottom right corner of my paper. This year we're always writing it in the same place, and we're using our table colors. There's a colored pencil in the bin on your table. So I'm pretending I'm at the green table. I'm using green. Yellow table, you're the only table that's different. You're going to write your name in a regular pencil. Circle it with the yellow pencil. Okay, so I'm ready to draw my still life. So I want to think about which way I want my paper. I've decided I want my paper oriented like a portrait. Landscape as if I were to turn it the other way. And obviously this is a challenging picture. So I'm just going to start not with the most details, but trying to find the basic shapes in the picture. So Arnold's head is kind of like a circle. The hat going around kind of makes a bigger circle. No details yet. You'll notice that I'm drawing really, really, really lightly. Practicing seeing and noticing, whoops, I don't want to move my still life once I start. Seeing the shapes and noticing what's really there rather than just trying to draw my idea of the thing. Now Arnold's nose makes a big circle. I'm noticing that Miles' head comes right in front, a little bit smaller than the nose. I'm gonna make a slightly smaller oval. His body is like a little bit of a rectangle here. So we're just going really simple. Now clearly, if this is the first time I've done this, I'm probably not gonna feel super confident. I might be feeling like, oh no, Miss Janet, I can't do this. This is way too hard. Well, that's okay if you're feeling like that. Everybody gets to try. Everybody gets to create a drawing, and everybody gets to take a risk together. You are never going to learn if you don't try. The more you practice, the more confident you feel. And the more confident you feel, the more fun you have. The more fun you have, the more you do it, and the better and better you get. So let yourself practice and give it a try. I'm noticing that the pocket is a little bit of a soft, rounded rectangle. Oh, I don't want to forget my flower. So we talked about overlap. I can see that the hand comes in front of the flower. So I'm just going to gently draw that bumpy little circle that the flower is. And here is my basic shapes. Complex form, basic shapes. Once I've got all the basic shapes down, I'm going to start adding some more details. Whoops. Now don't do what I did. Don't put your paper under your still life. When you come into class every day, you're going to set up your still life in the same place you had it before. Now it may not be exactly the same, but you're going to do your best. Okay, I'm coming in and starting to add more of the details. Still drawing really lightly because I probably will want to erase. Now I drew a basic oval for the nose, but now I'm coming in and showing a little bit more of its funny little imperfections. Now I'm coming in now the hat. It's not really, let's see, there's this first line. So you're gonna do the same thing. I'm looking at this line here. You're gonna look at the lines and shapes of your objects. You're not gonna think about what they are. You're just gonna think about what shapes do you notice. And I'm going to go right over my sketchy lines and start drawing more detailed lines. Now I'm looking at this line here. It's a tricky spot because there's lines and shadows. Now we're not doing shading yet. That's the next step. Today we're just starting with details, contours, turning our basic shapes more into detailed drawings that show what it is that we're drawing. Getting texture of the bristle there. Get the paintbrush in the hand. Whoops, it's not quite right, but it's close enough. Just coming in and starting to add more details. Now, one thing I didn't point out was that I drew really big. I want you to try to draw your objects large and fill the whole space of the paper as much as you can, even if your objects are really tiny. Once you've completed drawing the details and the contours, which I haven't quite yet in my pictures, but I'm pretending like I did for the sake of time, you get to start adding shadow. There's two different kinds of shadow. There's the shadow that's called the cast shadow. That's the shadow from your object onto the table. That's what's going to make it look like your items are three-dimensional in space. They go from shape to form. You can see that they're standing on the table. They're not just floating in space. I'm looking at the shapes that the shadows make. I'm not inventing shadows that aren't there. I'm just using the back and forth shading method from the different techniques that we've talked about. And I'm just coloring in beneath the object. If I want, I could use my finger and rub and blend it a little bit. You don't have to, but you can. Well, as I'm adding shadows, I'm seeing areas where I could have added more detail or changed the shape a little bit. That's normal. That's okay. I'm not going to change anything right now because I'm just moving forward with the time that we have. Adding the cast shadow, and then I'm going to start to add the values that I see in the objects themselves. Now we're only using black and white for this drawing, unless maybe at the very end we'll add a little color pencil. We'll see how much time we have. You can already see that the objects are starting to look more three-dimensional just by being able to tell their cast shadow. Their cast shadow shows them laying on the table. Now I'm looking for other shadows that are on the objects. Here I'm looking at this shape. The darkest spots first. You can show color through value, and by that I mean I'm not going to be able to see necessarily that this is a red nose, but I can see that it's darker than than Arnold's face. Okay, his hair, I kind of already colored in his hair. His face is a little bit shaded. You can use the different shading techniques that we talked about. If you want to use scratchy lines or smooth lines, if you want to use stippling, if you want to use cross-hatching. Actually, cross-hatching might be good for this one. This spot's really dark coming in. So really just little by little, add as many shadows as you can. And your goal is to show the full range of values. The darkest spots, the midtones, and the lightest spots will be the white of the paper. Hey Arnold, you're starting to look like my friend, Arnold the artist from when I was a kid. I can't wait to see your drawings come to life. Remember, be nice to yourself, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Try your best, let yourself take a risk and try something new.